Natural Monument Number 336, Korea's Treasure. Cold wind lifts through the foggy air while snow pours down from the sky full of heavy clouds. Thunder constantly rumbles and violent waves rush as they attempt to gulp the island every time they pass by. Everything seems colorless and dark except for the beam of light that remains vivid the whole time. At the start of the race stands a lighthouse, sturdy and unshaken by the weather. Inside, a person who always keeps the island bright stands, the keeper of the lighthouse. As time passes, the harsh weather starts to calm down. Later, when he looks out the window, the scene looks quite peaceful with white snow covering the whole island, Dokdo. Yet, hidden under the pretty layer of snow, scars and wounds caused by the storm still known. Dokdo, a small but important island located in the East Sea, has been in the center of the ongoing arguments between Korea and Japan for hundreds of years. Both countries firmly claiming the island to be part of their territory. As it can be inferred, Dokdo has a very special meaning for the two countries. In the aspects of economic benefits, Dokdo does have a great amount of natural gas hydrates and many more resources hidden in it. More than 200 species of various organisms are thriving in the island as well. However, that is not the main reason why the island is significant for Korea and Japan. Though Dokdo may seem like an ordinary island to people who don't know, it has a deep story relating to the history of the two countries surrounding the island. The islands also symbolize the lingering historical grievances between the two nations, which have their roots in Japan's lengthy colonization of Korea. BBC News. Dokdo was taken by Japan with all the other territories of Korea during the colonization period, and after suffering through the hard times, the islands were rightfully restored to Korea at the end of World War I. Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Korea. Since Dokdo basically represents Korea's independence from Japan as well as the Koreans' efforts to keep the island from Japan's continuous invasion that started hundreds of years ago, Dokdo has a very remarkable meaning for Korea. Currently, South Korea is occupying the island, giving it an address of Dokdori, Oseomul, Ilsongun, Gyeongsangbuk-do, Korea. A small number of Korean people live in it, and Korean policemen, as well as the keepers of the lighthouse, work on the island to protect the place. Korea claims Dokdo to be part of its territory based on multiple pieces of evidence shown by history, but Japan disagrees, saying that Takeshima, the Japanese name for Dokdo, is indisputably an inherent part of the territory of Japan, in light of historical facts and based on international law. Although it is not easy to figure out who's speaking the truth by only looking at each side's claims that both seem similar and strong, the truth can be clarified with history. Samguk-sagi, a book written by Kim Bushik, records the history of the three kingdoms of Korea. It is written that in the year 512, Usangguk was conquered by Shilla general Isaguk. Usangguk was a small country that occupied Ulleungdo and other islands around it, which included Dokdo. At this point in history, Dokdo and other islands in Usangguk became Shilla's territory, which later grew to be part of Korea. The fact that Dokdo and Ulleungdo were Korea's territory and that other countries, including Japan, were aware of it was revealed again in 1625, some claim it to be 1618, when the Japanese issued a Tohei license, a license allowing passage to other countries' territory, to Ulleungdo for the Oya and Murakawa families. This action clearly shows that the Japanese people at the time didn't think of the islands as part of their territory. Later on, in 1693, there was an incident when Anyonggo, a Korean fisherman, was abducted by a few Japanese fishermen while he was fishing in waters around Ulleungdo. Anyonggo was taken to Japan, and this event caused a debate about the ownership of Ulleungdo, Dokdo, and other small islands between Japan and Joseon, Korea's old name. As a result, on December 24, 1695, Japan confirmed that Ulleungdo and Dokdo did not belong to the Totori Han, the domain of Japan at that time, and therefore were not Japanese territory. Followed by that, in January 1696, Japan banned traveling to Takeshima for their people. Despite the order, Japanese fishermen continued to enter the territory and illegally take resources from the island. It is recorded in the historical document named Memorandum on the Arrival of a Boat from Joseon in 1696 that once again, Anungbok sailed to Japan and informed officials on Oki Island that Ulleungdo and Dokdo were part of Gangwon-do, Korea. Supporting An's claim, in 1877, Tajokan gave an order to the Japanese Ministry of Home Affairs saying regarding Takeshima, Ulleungdo, and one other island about which an inquiry was submitted, bear in mind that our country has nothing to do with them. This document further clarified the fact that Ulleungdo and other islands around it belonged to Korea, not Japan. In January 1946, right after World War II ended and Korea became independent from Japan, a memorandum called Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, Index number 677, was written, ordering Japan to specifically return Ulleungdo, Dokdo, and Jeju Island. This reveals again that Dokdo was Korea's territory before the war and that the sovereignty over the island was returned to Korea. The conclusion of the Treaty of Peace with Japan also implies that Dokdo is a territory that was separated from Japan after the war. From this historical angle, it is quite evident that Dokdo was Korea's territory from when it was conquered by Silla in 512. However, Japan is denying that fact, arguing that Usan Island in all the historical documents is not the same island as Dokdo today. One piece of evidence they use to support their claim is that map of 8 provinces of Korea, arguing that the way how Usan Island was drawn in the map does not match the size and location of Dokdo. They continue stating if Usan Island is esteemed as Takeshima, as the Republic of Korea claims, then this island should have been depicted as an island far to the east of and much smaller than Utsuru Island. As the Japanese say, it is true that Usan Island was drawn in a different location and different size from Dokdo on the map of 8 provinces of Korea. Yet this cannot be the reason to believe that Usan Island is not Dokdo, because in multiple maps drawn in later times, Usan Island matches the locations and other characteristics of Dokdo. For example, in Dongguk Daejeondo, a map that was made in the 18th century, Usan Island was drawn on the east of Ulleungdo, which is the same place as where Dokdo is located. This and many other maps made in the 18th and 19th centuries, such as the 조선전도, 삼국저병지도, and Joseon Donghaeando, prove that Usan Island is Dokdo. Another historical evidence that supports Usan Island to be Dokdo is how Usan Island is described in the geography section of the Annals of King Sejong's reign. Stating that both Murong, Ulleungdo, and Usan, Dokdo are Korean territories, it continues. The 2 islands of Usan and Murong are not located far apart from each other, so Usan is visible from Murong on a clear day. 3 islands can be seen from Ulleungdo without a visual aid: Gwaneundo, Jukdo, and Dokdo. But Gwaneundo and Jukdo can be seen even when the weather is not clear, rendering it hard to believe that one of those 2 islands is Usan Island. In contrast, Dokdo can be seen only on clear days, which matches the explanation on the historical document. This information once again confirms that Dokdo is Usan Island. History and numerous documents from the past, such as 삼국서기, the Tajokan Order, and Dongguk Daejeondo, demonstrate Japan's false claim of their ownership of Dokdo and that Dokdo is indeed Korea's territory. However, it is also true that many people in the world, including the Japanese, don't realize that. In order to let more people learn about the truth about Dokdo, there have been efforts of people constantly. Many videos and books about why Dokdo is Korea's territory have been made. Events and contests on the topic have been held, and many more creative ways have been used. With all these efforts put into it, the awareness about Dokdo is continuing to rise. While Dokdo has been on the middle of the debate for a long time, another controversy that has been going on is about the name of the sea between Korea and Japan, where Ulleungdo and Dokdo are located. The Japanese call the area Sea of Japan. However, based on historical facts, the original name of the sea is East Sea. While the name Sea of Japan was only used starting in 1602, the name East Sea has been used in Korea for over 2,000 years. Multiple historical records reveal that the Japanese themselves didn't refer to the sea as Sea of Japan for a long time either. Instead, numerous Japanese maps created at the time period, such as simplified map of Japan's periphery and New World map, referred to the sea as Sea of Chusan. Driven by the economic and diplomatic power it gained in the late 19th century and early 20th century, Japan influenced world maps when they were being drawn similarly to the one today. As a result, the name of the sea area became more known as Sea of Japan. The usage on that name further spread during the time period when Korea was ruled by Japan and also during the Korean War, since Korea didn't have the power to take any significant actions to inform the international community of the name East Sea. After the Korean War ended, Korea started putting in efforts to let the international community know about the name East Sea and to regain the legitimacy of it. For instance, in 1965, during the negotiations between Korea and Japan, as they couldn't reach an agreement on one specific name of the area of the sea, they agreed to keep their respective names, East Sea for Korea and Sea of Japan for Japan, in each of their texts of the agreement. Working to restore the name East Sea on world maps, Korea also officially first raised the issue at the United Nations Conference of the Standardization of Geographical Names in 1992, which was 1 year later after it became a member of the United Nations. Since the sea lies between Korea and Japan and extends to Russia as well, multiple different countries share sovereignty over parts of the area and the sea, and thus it will be inappropriate to call the whole sea as Sea of Japan. This name could be misleading, giving people a false idea that the sea and the islands in it all belong to Japan. For this reason, the Korean government's efforts to raise awareness for the East Sea is continuing, and along with the government, people around the world are taking remarkable actions as well. In 2014, Korean American activists proposed a bill to include both the names the East Sea and the Sea of Japan in school textbooks. The bill passed both the Virginia Senate and the House of Delegates, confirmed by Governor Terry McAuliffe signing it. The more recent instance exemplifying positive changes people are making happened in April 2019 when BTS, a Korean boy band, had an interview with Sunday Morning by CBS. In the video clip of the TV show that was uploaded, a map of Korea was displayed. The part that caused the controversy was that the sea next to it was written only as the Sea of Japan. Many fans of BTS recognized the fact and requested CBS to change the naming of the sea. In response to the request, CBS edited out the words and re-uploaded the video. As illustrated in this event, Korean culture has been influencing various parts of the world. This constant increase of the global popularity of Korean movies, dramas, music, and other Korean culture, specifically called the Korean Wave, has led many people to become interested in Korea, the country itself, some even starting to learn Korean and Korean history. With the Korean Wave having such a great impact on various countries, it may be a very effective way to raise awareness for important issues like Dokdo and the name of the East Sea. As history clearly supports, Dokdo belongs to Korea, and the sea surrounding it, the island, should also righteously be called the East Sea. Since Dokdo and the name East Sea are both symbols of Korea's numerous fights and struggles from the past, they are very important. The work of various people to protect Dokdo and the name of the East Sea that have constantly been done are resulting in a growing understanding of the issues, which is indicated by multiple studies showing an increase of the number of maps with both names of the sea, East Sea and Sea of Japan, and also in many events, such as the bill about naming of the sea in school textbooks, passing legislation, and CBS removing the incorrect notation of the name of the sea area from their video. With the efforts of people that will continue, it is anticipated that more people would be able to know the facts about Dokdo and the sea in the near future. A nice breeze gently whispers. In the middle of the clear sky dotted with puffy clouds, the dazzling sun softly hugs the island. The waves of the East Sea are tranquil, and across the deep blue sea, a boat comes toward the island. Looking at the beautiful scene, the keeper of the lighthouse gets ready to greet the guests who are about to arrive. The boat gets closer to its destination, filled with the excitement of people who want to step into Dokdo and learn more about the place. They wave at the keeper of the lighthouse, and he waves back with a smile. The Korean flag proudly flutters on top of the lighthouse. It is a peaceful day in Dokdo, Korea.